There's an old Hindi adage, Khoda Pahad Nikli Chuhiya, which is commonly used to describe the meager outcome of a massive undertaking. In today's episode of Beyond the Headlines, we're going to look at the new regime in charge of Indian cricket and how it looks just like the old regime we thought we had got rid of. The Pahad, or mountain, is the Board of Control for Cricket in India, or BCCI. The Khudai, or digging, was done by a distinguished committee of administrators headed by the former Comptroller and Auditor General Vinod Rai, who laboured for 3 years ostensibly in order to reform the BCCI. And the Chuhiyas who have emerged are the same old power brokers and politicians whose nexus remains as influential today as it was in 2015 when the reform process began. On Tuesday, the BCCI's new office holders took charge. Former Indian captain Saurav Ganguly was elected president, but don't be fooled by his presence on the board. The new BCCI secretary is Jay Amit Shah, son of India's powerful Home Minister Amit Shah, and the treasurer Arun Dhumal, brother of another central minister, Anurag Thakur, who is himself a former head of the BCCI. Now, Ganguly's election was not a foregone conclusion. According to the Telegraph, the decision was clinched only after Thakur, who was backing Ganguly, spoke to an influential union cabinet minister on the telephone and then apparently took Srinivasan aside for a dialogue. That influential minister evidently had some lollipop to offer Srinivasan, following which that powerful broker agreed to come on board. The irony is that the rot in Indian cricket came to a head when the same Srinivasan was at the helm. Yet here he was half a decade later, still calling the shots in alliance with ministers. To underline the undiminished influence of the old guard, Srinivasan and other discredited former administrators, Rajiv Shukla and Niranjan Shah, turned up alongside Ganguly as he took charge. 4 years ago, the Supreme Court handed over to a committee of 3 retired judges headed by former Chief Justice R.M. Lodha the enormous task of reforming the administration of Indian cricket by completely overhauling the BCCI. The apex court took this unusual step because of the scandalous manner in which the BCCI had handled credible allegations of match fixing involving key functionaries of 2 IPL teams. The BCCI's refusal to act against these influential persons was symptomatic of the board's rotten ways, in which powerful individuals with political or corporate backing had managed to hijack the administration of Indian cricket and run the game as a means of influence peddling and worse. Indian cricket was riddled with conflicts of interest at virtually every level, and the vast sums of money that the game was generating at the top level attracted all kinds of unsavory elements who saw in the lack of transparency and accountability a great opportunity for personal advancement. The Lodha Committee's first decision, of course, was to impose a lifetime ban on Gurunath Mayappan, the son-in-law of the influential cricket administrator N. Srinivasan, then head of the BCCI, as well as Raj Kundra, who was the owner of the Rajasthan Royals. The BCCI ought to have punished them, but chose not to do so, and what is worse, none of the politicians who were part of the BCCI ecosystem as office holders or heads of the various state-level cricket associations chose to intervene. These politicians included Narendra Modi, who then headed the Gujarat Cricket Association, Jyotiraditya Scindia, Arun Jaitley, Sharad Pawar, Rajiv Shukla. But not one of these gentlemen who had the official and moral standing to pull the plug on Srinivasan chose to do so. Having done what the BCCI had refused to do, which is to act against corruption within its ranks, the Lodha Committee next turned its attention towards more systemic reform. Let me quote from the Lodha report's own description of its mandate in order for you to understand the kind of cleanup that was seen as necessary. The task assigned to the committee is clear. Recommend those changes in the rules and regulations of the BCCI that will further the interest of the public at large in the sport of cricket, improve the ethical standards and discipline in the game, streamline and create efficiency in the management of the BCCI, provide accessibility and transparency, prevent conflicts of interest situations, and eradicate political and commercial interference and abuse, and create mechanisms for resolution of disputes and grievances. Two of these tasks stand out: eradicate political and commercial interference and prevent conflict of interest situations. On Tuesday, when the Supreme Court announced the end of its supervision of the BCCI's affairs, it declared that the Committee of Administrators would be handsomely compensated for their time. Fixing their honorarium at an astonishing rupees 10 lakhs a month, the court essentially directed BCCI to pay Vinod Rai and Diana Edulji over 3 crore rupees. Two former members of the COA, Ramachandra Guha and Vikram Limaye, have announced that they do not want any payment. Guha, in fact, had quit the COA 2 years back after his attempts to push Rai to take a firmer stand against conflicts of interest involving former administrators and cricketers failed to produce any results. While 6 crore rupees is a lot of money for the BCCI to pay for the work of a committee whose exertions it frequently sought to challenge, the fact that the old system has emerged unscathed is likely to convince even the most die-hard skeptic that this was money well spent. Rai always said he was a night watchman, and by allowing the Lodha principles to wither on the vine of Indian ingenuity, he has essentially handed the BCCI over to Amit Shah on a platter. The sad fact is that today, Indian cricket administration is back where it started, with the brokers and politicians firmly in control through proxies of one kind or the other. Jay Shah is no doubt an adult and responsible for his own actions, but he is also a loving and obedient son. He was earlier in the Gujarat Cricket Association alongside his father, and the Shah dynasty will continue to function smoothly in the BCCI too. As for the treasurer, Dhumal, to imagine he will function independently of his ministerial brother Anurag Thakur would be the height of naivety. The Tamil Nadu Cricket Association is headed by N. Srinivasan's daughter, who is married to the same Gurunath Mayappan, whose involvement in match fixing opened up the can of worms in Indian cricket in 2013. Ganguly has also helpfully declared that the preoccupation with conflict of interest was somehow coming in the way of the BCCI drawing on the best available talent. So where does this leave us? The politicians are back, the brokers are back, the fixers are back, the backroom deals are back, and talk of conflict of interest is again being seen as something that could be jettisoned. In other words, all the ills that plagued Indian cricket are back. I hope someday a competent auditor comes along to quantify the loss that this shocking failure to clean up the game has caused the nation.